Hi there, I'm going to talk to you about framing. Just like an actual frame, there are also more sides to one story. As you are looking at this frame in the corner now, you can see the nice golden borders. You are looking at the pretty side of the frame. You probably put a picture of your family, your dog, or a vacation in it, or whatever you like. But this is not the only way to display your picture. You can also turn the frame around and have the pretty side face the wall. Now you see the back of the frame. Maybe less attractive, but still a possibility. Well, does this change the picture or the frame? No, it merely shows another side of it, and that's what's called framing. To give you a definition of framing, researcher Robert Emman says framing essentially involves selection and salience. To frame is to select some aspects of a perceived reality and make them more salient in a communicating text, in such a way as to promote a particular problem definition, causal interpretation, moral evaluation, and/or treatment recommendation for the item described. Journalists also have to make judgments about framing. They make judgments about the way they are going to represent their story to make it more comprehensible. According to another researcher, James Druckmann, the public opinion is influenced by the frames elites choose to use. The elites can influence whether people see a certain event as a free speech issue or a public safety issue. And it is important to note that influence is the key word here. Frames do not determine what people think, they just influence it. Robert Emman also further states that the effect of framing doesn't merely stem from what they include, but also what they exclude. Or in other words, it's not just about what you say, but also what you do not say as a writer. But does this mean that it is bad or good that some pieces of information are included and other pieces are excluded? Let's have a look at the following example. In this first example, you see an article by The Guardian about the possible ending of the chocolate production in 2020. The title of the article is "The Future of Chocolate: Why Cacao Production is at Risk." Now keep this title in mind and take a look at the next example. This example is an article by The Cosmopolitan. The title is "Why Everyone Needs to Stop Eating Chocolate Immediately." Now, if you just compare these two articles on the title alone, you can already see some differences. You see that the first one by The Guardian is more neutral, while this article by The Cosmopolitan jokingly describes how devastating it is that the chocolate production might come to an end. Now, of course, these two examples are a bit extreme, but they do show you how different writers can tell the same story in different ways. So this brings me to the following questions. Do you think that framing is good or bad? Does it matter to you that the same situation is portrayed differently in this case? Now let's have a look at another few examples. This first example is by the CNN and it's about the Florida State University shooting. If you just look at the titles alone again, you can see that this title reads "Gunman opens fire in Florida State University Library. 3 wounded." Now compare that title to this article by the Time magazine. The title is "At least 3 wounded in shooting at Florida State University." And if we compare these two titles to another one, this article is by NPR. The title is "Florida State University Gunman Shot Dead by Campus Police." You can already see some differences by just looking at the titles. The first two articles focus on the students, and specifically the 3 wounded students, while the last article focuses on the gunman that was shot dead by the police. Now let's have a further look at the articles. All articles mention reaction by students that were at the university. This first quote comes from the article by CNN. As one student said there, "Yes, the students who were in the library were affected, but 40,000 students lost their sense of security." So as you can see, this article really focuses on the students, also the ones that were not at the campus during the time of the shooting. Now let's have a look at the second quote that was reported in the article by The Time. This is always stuff you hear about happening at other schools, like there are other crazed gunmen at colleges, but not at Florida State. I think this is another issue about gun control and about how we can be doing more in America. So as you can see, this article really focuses at the shootings in all America, and it also says there needs to be stricter gun control. Now let's take a look at the last article. The student that was quoted there basically says you never think something like this is going to happen to you until you have to react in that situation when someone is screaming there's a gun in the building. I ran for my life. I ran right out the back door. My laptop and everything is still in there. It was shock. It was just instinct. You don't think about anything else, you just go. So as you can see, this article really focuses on the shooting itself and what happened during the shooting and what happened to the students, what their reactions were. Now, to come back to my main question, has your opinion changed? Do you think framing is good or bad now when you look at these examples? Let's think about that for a minute. And if you're wondering what my own opinion is, you can read it on my blog, reflectionsonthewrittenword.blogspot.com.